The cargo hold smelled like rust and old machine oil. Myra Chen pushed her cleaning cart through the narrow corridor, her footsteps echoing against the metal floor. She was tired. Her shift had started 12 hours ago, and her body ached from lifting heavy containers all day. Orbital Station Kethvora never slept. Ships came and went at all hours, bringing goods from 100 different worlds. The station was controlled by the Syndicate of the Pale Claw, a group of 3 alien species who had ruled this sector of space for centuries. They tolerated humans, barely. To them, humans were the newest and weakest species in the galaxy. Good for cheap labor. Nothing more. Myra was 19 years old. She had been working on the station for 8 months, trying to pay off her family's transport debt. It was boring work. Lonely work. But it was honest, and it kept her fed. She checked her datapad. One more section to clean, then she could go back to her tiny room and sleep. Section 7G. The lower cargo holds. Nobody ever went down there except maintenance crews and cargo handlers like her. The lights flickered. Myra stopped walking. She looked up at the ceiling, watching the lights pulse once, twice, then go steady again. Probably just a power fluctuation. The station was old. Things broke all the time. She kept walking. A voice came over the speakers. It was smooth and calm, speaking in the common trade language that everyone on the station used. Attention! Routine security blackout in Sector 7G. Duration: 4 hours. All non-essential personnel should remain in designated areas. Myra frowned. She had never heard of a security blackout before. But she was already in Section 7G. Maybe she should leave and come back later. Behind her, she heard a heavy sound. Metal against metal. She turned around and saw the bulkhead door sliding shut. The thick security door sealed with a final, solid thunk. She was locked in. Myra walked to the door and pressed the control panel. Nothing happened. She tried her worker access code. The panel blinked red. Access denied. A cold feeling started to grow in her stomach. Something was wrong. Hello? She called out. Her voice echoed in the empty cargo hold. Is anyone there? I think I'm locked in. Silence. Then she heard something else. Footsteps. But not human footsteps. These were heavier, with a strange clicking sound. Like claws on metal. 3 figures stepped out from behind a stack of cargo containers. They were Vrethkai. Myra's blood went cold. Everyone on the station knew about the Vrethkai. They were one of the 3 species that controlled the Syndicate. Reptilian creatures, tall and strong, with scales the color of dark stone. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, and their hands ended in curved claws that dripped with natural venom. They were predators, hunters, and they were looking at her the way a cat looks at a mouse. The one in front was the largest. He had a long scar running down the side of his face, and his scales were darker than the others. When he smiled, Myra could see rows of sharp teeth. "Good evening, little human," he said. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "My name is Keseth. These are my hunting brothers, Draven and Tarek." Myra took a step back. Her heart was beating so fast she could hear it in her ears. "What do you want?" she asked. She tried to keep her voice steady, but it came out small and thin. Keseth laughed. It was not a nice laugh. "We have been watching you for weeks," he said. "A small human, young, alone, no friends, no family on this station. Nobody who would miss you." The youngest Vrethkai, Tarek, moved to the side, blocking another path. Draven, who had cold blue scales and empty eyes, moved to the other side. They were surrounding her. "You see," Keseth continued, "my brothers and I enjoy hunting. It is in our blood. Our ancestors hunted across a dozen worlds before your species even learned to make fire. But we have never hunted a human before. He spread his arms wide, gesturing at the cargo hold around them. The cameras are off. The doors are sealed. No one is coming to help you. We have 4 hours until the systems come back online. Myra's back hit a cargo container. She had nowhere else to go. Please, she said. Please, I have not done anything to you. That is the point, Tarek said eagerly. He was younger than the others, his scales still bright, his eyes hungry for glory. You do not need to do anything. You are prey. We are predators. That is the natural order of things. Kesseth held up one clawed hand. We will be sporting about it. We will give you 60 seconds to run. Then we will hunt you. If you survive until the doors open, you live. If not, he let the sentence hang in the air. Myra's mind was racing. This could not be happening. This was a nightmare. She was just a cargo handler. She was nobody. But even as fear flooded through her body, something else was waking up. Something old. Something that lived deep in her bones. Myra had not always lived on space stations. She had grown up on Proxima Centauri 4, a mining colony on a harsh and dangerous world. The colony had no police, no security, no one to protect the weak from the strong. Her mother had died when she was 6. Her father had been killed in a mining accident when she was 12. She had survived alone for 3 years before getting passage off that rock. She had learned things on that colony. Hard things. Dark things. How to hide. How to fight. How to hurt someone bigger and stronger than her. How to survive when everything wanted her dead. The Vrethkai saw a small, scared human girl. That was what she wanted them to see. They had no idea what she really was. Kesseth checked the device on his wrist. Your 60 seconds begin now. Run, little human, run. Myra turned and ran into the darkness of the cargo hold. Behind her, she could hear the Vrethkai laughing. They thought this was going to be fun. They were wrong. The cargo hold was huge, spanning 3 levels. It was filled with containers, machinery, chemical storage units, and maintenance tunnels. Most people would see a maze with no escape. Mira saw something else. She saw a hunting ground, and she had spent her whole life learning how to hunt. The Vrethkai wanted to see what humans were made of. They wanted to learn why the galaxy should fear the small, soft creatures from a tiny blue planet. Mira was going to teach them, whether they wanted to learn or not. Mira did not run blindly. That was what prey did. That was what the Vrethkai expected. Instead, she moved quickly but carefully through the cargo hold, her eyes scanning everything around her. She had cleaned this section many times before. She knew where the maintenance tunnels were. She knew where the chemical storage was kept. She knew the layout better than any hunter who had just walked in. The 60 seconds passed. Somewhere behind her, she heard Kesseth's voice echo through the hold. Ready or not, little human. Here we come. Myra found a ladder and climbed up to the 2nd level. Her heart was still pounding, but her mind was calm now. Fear was useful if you controlled it. Fear made you fast. Fear made you alert. But panic would kill you. She crouched behind a large machine and listened. The Vrethkai were not being quiet. Why would they? They were the hunters. They had thermal vision that could see heat signatures through walls. They had venomous claws that could kill with a single scratch. They had hunted across 12 systems and never lost. They had never hunted a human before. Myra heard clicking footsteps below her. One of them was close. She peeked over the edge and saw blue scales in the dim light. Draven. He was moving slowly, his head turning left and right, his glowing eyes searching for her heat signature. She needed to deal with that. Thermal vision first. Myra moved silently along the walkway until she found what she was looking for. A chemical storage unit. She had cleaned around these units many times and had always been careful. The chemicals inside were industrial solvents, used for cleaning engine parts. Dangerous stuff. The warning label said they could cause severe burns to eyes and skin. She checked the pressure gauge. Full. Draven was getting closer. She could hear him below her, his claws clicking against the metal floor. He was enjoying himself, taking his time, savoring the hunt. "I can smell your fear, human," he called out. His voice was cold and flat. "Your species sweats when you are afraid. It is a useful trait." "For us," Myra did not answer. She picked up a small metal bolt from the floor and threw it to her left. It clattered against a container. Draven's head snapped toward the sound. He moved quickly, his body low and ready to strike. Myra jumped down behind him. Draven spun around, his claws raised. He was fast, but Myra was already moving. She grabbed the emergency release on the chemical unit and pointed the nozzle directly at his face. The industrial solvent sprayed out in a high-pressure stream. It hit Draven's eyes and face like liquid fire. He screamed out. It was a terrible sound, high and raw and full of pain. Draven stumbled backward, his claws tearing at his own face, trying to wipe away the burning chemical. But it was too late. The solvent was already destroying his thermal vision, eating into the sensitive tissue of his eyes. "My eyes!" he howled. "I cannot see. I cannot see." Mira was already gone. She had disappeared into a maintenance tunnel before his screams even stopped echoing. She did not feel guilty. She did not feel sorry. Draven had come here to hunt her for sport. He had wanted to kill her for fun. Whatever happened to him now, he had earned it. On the other side of the cargo hold, Kesseth and Tarek heard the screams. They looked at each other, then ran toward the sound. They found Draven on the ground, rolling and clawing at his ruined face. The chemical smell was strong in the air. His eyes were wide and clouded, destroyed beyond repair. "What happened?" Tarek demanded. "What did she do to you?" Draven could only moan in response. He was blind, completely and permanently blind. Kesseth stared at his hunting brother. In all his years of hunting, across all the worlds he had visited, he had never seen anything like this. The human had not just run. She had not just hidden. She had fought back. She had used the environment against them. She had turned one of his best hunters into a helpless, crying creature on the floor. "This is wrong," Tarek said. His voice was uncertain now. "Prey does not do this. Prey runs. Prey hides. Prey does not fight." Kesseth did not answer. He was thinking the Vrethkai were apex predators. They had evolved on a world where they were the top of the food chain. Everything else either ran from them or died. That was the natural order. That was how things had always been. But humans were different. Kesseth remembered something he had read once, long ago. A report about the human home world. Earth, they called it. A small planet with a thin atmosphere and weak gravity. The humans who lived there should have been easy prey for any predator species, but they were not. The report said that humans had hunted their own world's megafauna to extinction. Creatures 10 times their size, with claws and teeth and thick armor. All gone. Killed by small, soft humans with nothing but sharpened sticks and patience. The report said that humans did not need to be the strongest or the fastest. They just needed to not give up. They would chase prey for days without stopping. They would track wounded animals across entire continents. They would keep coming, keep fighting, keep killing, until nothing was left. The report called them persistence predators. Kesseth had read that report and laughed. How could such weak creatures be dangerous? He was not laughing now. "We need to be more careful," he said quietly. "This human is not normal prey." "She is just one human," Tarek said. But his voice was not confident anymore. "One small human girl. Kaseth looked down at Draven, who had stopped screaming and was now just lying there, breathing in short, painful gasps, blind, helpless, defeated by a creature half his size. One small human girl, Kaseth repeated. Yes, that is what I thought too. He pulled out his hunting knife. It was a long blade, curved and sharp, made for cutting through thick hide and bone. No more playing, he said. No more games. We find her and we kill her. Fast. Somewhere in the darkness of the cargo hold, hidden in a maintenance tunnel, Mira heard every word. The tunnels carried sound well dodged, she smiled. They were starting to understand. They were starting to feel what every prey animal felt when being hunted. Fear, uncertainty, the knowledge that something dangerous was out there in the dark, waiting for them, but they still did not fully understand. They thought they could adjust. They thought they could change their strategy and win. They did not realize that the hunt had changed. They were not the hunters anymore. They were the prey, and Mira was just getting started. 1 hour remained. Kaseth had stopped hunting. Now he was surviving. He had moved back to the ground floor, to where Draven was still lying. The blind Vrethkai had stopped moaning. He was quiet now, just breathing in shallow, painful gasps. His ruined eyes had crusted over with dried fluid. Kaseth? Draven's voice was weak, scared. Is that you? Yes, brother. It is me. I cannot see. I cannot see anything. Where's Tarek? Why has he not answered my calls? Kaseth did not answer. He did not know how to tell Draven that Tarek was dead, that the young hunter who had been so eager to prove himself was now cold meat on the 3rd level. Tarek is busy, Kaseth said. The lie felt bitter in his mouth. Draven reached out blindly. His clawed hand found Kaseth's arm and gripped it tightly. Something is wrong, Draven whispered. I can feel it. The human. She's not normal prey, is she? No, Kaseth admitted. She is not. What do we do? Kaseth looked around the cargo hold. The shadows seemed alive now. Every dark corner could be hiding the human. Every sound could be her approach. We wait, he said. We stay together. When the doors open, we leave. And the human? We forget she exists. We never speak of this again. It was defeat. Kaseth knew it. For the first time in his life, he was admitting that he could not win. That his prey had become his predator. That he, the greatest hunter of his generation, had been beaten by a teenage human girl. But survival was more important than pride. If they could just last 1 more hour. A sound echoed through the cargo hold. Metal scraping against metal. Kaseth spun around, his knife ready. His thermal vision searched the darkness. Nothing. Kaseth? Draven's voice was high with fear. What was that? Quiet. Another sound. This time from a different direction. Then another. And another. The human was surrounding them. She was everywhere and nowhere. She was the dark itself. Then her voice came. It echoed through the hold, bouncing off the metal walls until it seemed to come from every direction at once. Do you know what humans do when we are scared? Kaseth did not answer. He was trying to find the source of her voice, but it was impossible. The echoes made it seem like she was everywhere. We tell ourselves stories, Myra continued. Stories about monsters in the dark. About things that hunt us. We've been telling those stories for thousands and thousands of years. Scraping metal. Closer now. But here's the thing about those stories. In the beginning, we were afraid. We were small and weak, and everything wanted to eat us. But we did not stay afraid. We learned. We adapted. We became the monsters. Kaseth's hearts were pounding. Yes, hearts, plural. The Vrethkai had 2 hearts, both beating fast now with fear. By the time we finished, Myra's voice continued, there were no more monsters left on our world. We had killed them all. Every single one. Silence. Then Draven screamed. Kesseth spun around. Something had grabbed Draven. Something had pulled him into the shadows. Kesseth saw his hunting brother's legs disappearing around a corner, heard his claws scraping against the metal floor as he tried to hold on. Draven. Kesseth lunged forward, but he was too late. The screaming stopped. There was a wet crunching sound. Then silence. Kesseth stood alone in the darkness. His knife felt small in his hand. His legs felt weak. His two hearts pounded so hard, he thought they might burst. He was the last one. He backed up against a cargo container. At least nothing could come at him from behind. His thermal vision scanned the darkness ahead, searching for any sign of heat, any sign of movement. Nothing. Minutes passed. Or maybe hours. Kesseth could not tell anymore. Time had lost all meaning. There was only the darkness and the fear and the knowledge that something was out there waiting. Then he saw it. A shape. Moving between the containers. Small. Human-sized. Walking slowly. Toward him, Mira stepped into the dim light. She was covered in blood. Some of it was her own, from cuts and scrapes she had gotten during the night. But most of it was not hers. Most of it was Vrethkai blood. Dark and thick. In her hands was Tarek's trophy necklace. She was wearing it around her neck now, like a medal. I did some reading too, she said. While you were searching for me, I read about the Vrethkai, about your history, your culture. Kesseth raised his knife, but his hand was shaking so badly he could barely hold it. I read that in your culture, the greatest shame is to be killed by prey, Myra continued. To be taken down by something weaker than you. Your people would not even bury you. They would leave your body for the scavengers. She stepped closer. Her eyes were cold, empty, like looking into the void of space. I am going to make sure everyone knows, she said. Everyone on this station. Everyone in your clan. Everyone in the galaxy. I am going to make sure they all know that the great hunter Kesseth and his hunting brothers were killed by a teenage human girl with a cleaning cart. Kesseth felt something break inside him. His pride. His honor. Everything he had believed about himself and his place in the universe. Please, he whispered. The word felt foreign in his mouth. He had never begged before. Never. Please, I will leave. I will never hunt humans again. I will tell everyone to leave your kind alone. Please. Myra stopped walking. She looked at him for a long moment. You came here tonight to murder me for fun, she said. You and your brothers. You thought it would be entertaining. You thought I would scream and cry and beg while you tore me apart. She tilted her head, considering. But I am the one standing here now. And you are the one begging. Kesseth saw no mercy in her eyes. No compassion. No pity. He saw a predator. And he understood, finally, what humans really were. Not prey. Never prey. They were the thing that ate the monsters. And now, one of them was coming for him. 2 hours had passed since the hunt began. The cargo hold felt different now. The shadows seemed darker. The silence seemed heavier. Something had changed in the air itself. Kesseth moved through the maze of cargo containers with his knife ready. His thermal vision was still working, but it was less useful now. The human had done something to the environmental controls. Cold air was flowing through some sections. Warm air through others. Heat signatures were everywhere and nowhere. She had turned his greatest advantage into a weakness. He had underestimated her. He knew that now. Tarek was somewhere on the 3rd level, searching. Draven was still on the ground floor, blind and useless. Kesseth had left him there. There was nothing he could do for his hunting brother now. A sound echoed through the hold. Metal scraping against metal. Kaseth froze, listening. It came from his left. He moved toward it, slow and careful. Nothing. Another sound. This time from behind him. He spun around, his knife raised. Nothing. The human was playing with them, creating false trails, making noise to draw them in one direction while she moved in another. It was a hunting technique. Kaseth recognized it because he had used it himself many times, but he had never been on the receiving end before. His communicator crackled. Tarek's voice came through, young and eager. Kaseth, I have found her trail. 3rd level, Section 12. I am going after her. No, Kaseth said quickly. Wait for me. Do not go alone. She is just one human, Tarek said. I can handle her. I will bring you her head as a trophy. Tarek, listen to me. Do not. The communicator went silent. Tarek had turned it off. Kaseth cursed in his native language. Young fool. He was too hungry for glory, too eager to prove himself. He did not understand what they were dealing with. Kaseth started moving toward the 3rd level. Maybe he could reach Tarek in time. Maybe the young hunter would be smart enough to wait. He did not believe it, but he had to try. On the 3rd level, Tarek moved through a narrow corridor between stacked containers. His thermal vision showed a heat signature ahead, small, human-sized, moving slowly. He smiled. The hunt was almost over. I see you, human, he called out. There is nowhere left to run. Come out and face your death with honor. No response. Tarek moved closer. The heat signature was just around the corner. He raised his claws, ready to strike. He turned the corner. It was not the human. It was a heating unit. Someone had turned it on and placed a piece of cloth over it. The cloth was warm, human warm. A decoy. Tarek realized his mistake 1 second too late. Myra dropped from above. She had been hiding on top of the containers, waiting. In her hands was a cargo hook, a heavy metal tool used for moving containers. It was not a weapon. It was not designed to hurt anyone, but in human hands, anything could be a weapon. The cargo hook hit Tarek in the back of the neck, right where his scales were thinnest. The blow was not elegant. It was not clean. It was brutal and savage, powered by fear and rage and 300,000 years of human survival instinct. Tarek fell. He tried to get up, but his body would not obey him. Something was wrong with his spine. He could feel his legs, but he could not move them. Myra stood over him. She was breathing hard. There was blood on her hands. Some of it was his. You wanted to hunt a human, she said. Her voice was flat, empty. Now, you know what that means. Tarek looked up at her. For the first time in his life, he felt true fear. Not the exciting fear of the hunt. Not the thrilling fear of facing a dangerous opponent. This was different. This was the fear of prey. The fear of knowing that something stronger and more dangerous was standing over you, deciding whether you lived or died. Please, he whispered. Please, I am sorry. I did not know. I did not understand. Myra looked at him for a long moment. Her face showed nothing. Neither did I, she said. Until I had to. She raised the cargo hook. When Kaseth reached the 3rd level, he found Tarek's body. The young hunter was dead. His trophy necklace, a string of teeth from previous kills, had been removed. It was lying on the floor a few feet away, arranged in a pattern. A message. Kaseth picked up the necklace with shaking hands. He had given this necklace to Tarek himself after the young hunter's first successful kill. It was a symbol of honor, a mark of a true Vrethkai predator. Now it was a trophy for a human. Kaseth sat down heavily against a container. His legs felt weak. His hands would not stop trembling. He pulled out his datapad and began searching. He needed to understand. He needed to know what he was truly facing. He found the human database, history, biology, psychology. He read for several minutes, his eyes growing wider with each new piece of information. Humans had hunted their planet's largest animals to extinction using nothing but patience and simple tools. They had survived ice ages that killed most other species. They had waged wars against each other for thousands of years, developing increasingly creative ways to kill. They went to space not because they needed to, but because they wanted to see what was out there. And the most dangerous thing about them, they did not need claws or venom or strength. They used their minds. They adapted. They learned. They never ever gave up. The database had a special note about human psychology. It said that when humans were pushed too far, when they had nothing left to lose, something changed inside them. A switch flipped. Fear became rage. Caution became aggression. The small, soft creature that seemed so harmless suddenly became something else entirely. The note called it the survival response. Kaseth closed the datapad. His hands were still shaking. He had hunted across 12 systems. He had killed hundreds of creatures from dozens of species. He had never lost a hunt. He had never known fear. He knew it now. Somewhere in the cargo hold, the human was waiting for him. She had already taken 2 of his hunting brothers. She had turned their hunt into a nightmare, and there were still 2 hours left until the doors opened. Kaseth gripped his knife tighter. He was the greatest hunter his clan had ever produced. He would not die in a cargo hold at the hands of some human girl, but deep inside, in a place he did not want to acknowledge, a small voice whispered the truth. He was not the hunter anymore. He was the prey, and the human was coming for him. Kaseth attacked first. It was desperation. Pure survival instinct. He had nothing left to lose. His hunting brothers were dead. His pride was destroyed. All that remained was the primal need to live. He lunged at Myra with his knife, slashing in a wide arc aimed at her throat. If he could just land one cut, just get his venom into her blood, maybe he could still win. Maybe he could still survive. Myra moved. She did not dodge like prey. She did not flinch or stumble or fall. She moved like a fighter, like someone who had learned to survive in places where hesitation meant death. The knife missed her throat by inches. Before Kaseth could recover, Myra was inside his reach. Her hands found his knife arm. She twisted. Hard. Kaseth felt something pop in his elbow. Pain exploded up his arm. The knife fell from his suddenly numb fingers and clattered against the metal floor. He swung with his other arm, his venomous claws reaching for her face. But Myra was already moving again. She ducked under his swing and drove her elbow into his ribs. The blow was not powerful enough to break bone, but it knocked the breath out of him. Kaseth stumbled backward. He was bigger than her, stronger, but she was faster. And she knew how to fight dirty. "You cannot beat me," he gasped. "I am Vrethkai. I am an apex predator." Myra did not answer. She was circling him now, like a wolf circling wounded prey. Her eyes never left his. Kaseth attacked again. A wild, desperate slash with his claws. This time, he connected. His claws raked across Myra's shoulder, cutting through her work uniform and into the flesh beneath. Blood welled up immediately, and his venom entered her bloodstream. Vrethkai. Venom was not immediately lethal to humans, but it caused pain. Terrible, burning pain that spread from the wound through the entire body. Most creatures would collapse, screaming. Within seconds, Myra did not collapse. She did not even slow down. Her face twisted with pain, yes. Her body shook. But something in her eyes changed. Something dark and ancient and utterly terrifying. The pain did not stop her. It fueled her. "Is that the best you have?" she said. Her voice was rough, strained, but steady. "I have felt worse." And she kept coming. Casseth felt real terror then. Not the exciting fear of the hunt. Not the manageable fear of facing a dangerous opponent. This was the fear of facing something that simply would not stop. Something that refused to die, no matter what you did to it. He finally understood what made humans so dangerous. It was not their intelligence, though that was frightening enough. It was not their adaptability, or their creativity, or their tools. It was something deeper. Something written into their very DNA. Humans did not know how to give up. They would keep fighting, keep struggling, keep surviving, long after any reasonable creature would have accepted defeat. They had clawed their way to the top of their world through nothing but sheer stubborn refusal to die. And when they finally reached the stars, they brought that same terrifying persistence with them. Myra had been poisoned. She was bleeding. She was exhausted from a night of fighting and hiding and killing. She should have been on the ground, screaming in agony. Instead, she was still standing, still fighting, still coming for him. Casseth swung again. Another wild slash. Mira caught his arm, twisted, and this time something broke. He felt the bone snap, heard it, a wetted cracking sound that echoed through the cargo hold. He screamed. Mira did not give him time to recover. She drove her knee into his stomach, doubling him over. Then her elbow came down on the back of his neck, sending him crashing to the floor. Casseth tried to get up. His broken arm would not support his weight. He collapsed back down, gasping. Mira stood over him. She was swaying slightly now. The venom was affecting her. Blood was running down her arm. But she was still on her feet, still looking at him with those cold predator eyes. "You wanted to see what humans are made of," she said. "Now, you know." Casseth looked up at her. He wanted to say something, to beg for mercy one more time, to offer her anything, everything, if she would just let him live. But he saw the truth in her eyes. There would be no mercy. Not for him. Not after what he had tried to do. Myra knelt down beside him. Her hands closed around his throat. They were small hands. Human hands. Soft and weak compared to Vrethkai claws, but they were strong enough. Casseth died looking into the eyes of the creature he had hunted. The last thing he saw was not fear or anger or hatred. It was something worse. It was patience. The patience of a persistence. Predator. The patience of a human. The bulkhead doors opened at exactly 0600 station time. Security Chief Corvin, a grizzled old Morvith with gray scales and tired eyes, was first through the door. He had been waiting outside for an hour, worried about the reports of a security blackout in Sector 7G. He was not prepared for what he found. The cargo hold looked like a battlefield. Blood everywhere. Vrethkai blood and human blood mixed together on the metal floor. Containers knocked over. Equipment destroyed. The smell of chemical solvents and death hung heavy in the air. And in the middle of it all, sitting against a cargo container, was a human girl. She was young. 19, maybe 20. Small and thin. The kind of human that predator species dismissed as weak and harmless. She was covered in blood, most of it not her own. Around her neck hung a trophy necklace that Corvin recognized immediately. Vrethkai hunting trophies. Scattered around the cargo hold were the bodies. 3 Vrethkai warriors. All dead. All killed by this small human girl. Corvin stared. His security team stared. None of them could find words. The human girl looked up at them. Her eyes were tired, pained. The venom from the Vrethkai claws was clearly affecting her. She needed medical attention, but she was alive. And they were not. What happened here? Corvin finally managed to ask. The human girl considered the question for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was hoarse but steady. They wanted to hunt me, she said. They thought it would be fun. They thought I was prey. She pushed herself to her feet. It took effort. She was hurt, poisoned, exhausted, but she stood anyway, because that was what humans did. I showed them they were wrong. Corvin looked at the bodies. 3 HFY, apex predators, killed by 1 human girl in a cargo hold. I need a medic, the girl said. And I need to file a report. Everything. What they planned. What they did. What I did. Corvin nodded slowly. It will be done. The girl walked past him, toward the door. Toward medical help and rest and a future she had fought to keep. Corvin watched her go. Then he looked back at the bodies. At the blood. At the evidence of what had happened in this cargo hold during the night. He had been in security for 40 years. He had seen many things, but he had never seen anything like this. The story spread. Security tried to keep it quiet, but some stories are too powerful to contain. Within days, every species on the station had heard about the human girl who killed 3 HFY hunters. Within weeks, the story had reached other stations. Other systems thought the message was simple. Do not hunt humans. Do not corner them. Do not assume that small means weak or that soft means helpless, because humans were not prey. They had never been prey. They were the species that ate the monsters, and if you ever forgot that, even for a moment, they would remind you, just like Mira Chung had reminded the HFY. No witnesses. No escape, no mercy. Just a human, doing what humans had always done, surviving.